What up everybody, it's BBKDRAGOON, and happy Saturday. I'll be making the argument, as the title states, that Vanilla Destiny Endgame was a lot better than the Taken King Endgame, for a few reasons. Vanilla Endgame had rewards that were worth working for, the Nightfall incentives were pretty rad back then, and also every exotic in the game you could have a chance to get by just playing endgame activities. And in the Taken King, you have raid weapons that are lackluster, you have a lack of good exotics in the game, and a lot of them that are time-gated that haven't even made their way into the title just yet, and the Nightfall incentives are just lame. That's just really destroying endgame culture and motivation for players, which, not a good thing. Not a good thing for Destiny, especially when I feel like we've made so much progress over the last year, and Taken King took so many steps forward. But now we're seeing a regression, a big step backwards in terms of end game quality. So number one, Vanilla Endgame had rewards worth working for. If you don't know, Vanilla was the time between release and the Dark Below, so September 2014 to December 2014. And I'm actually going to include the Dark Below in this good endgame time that was Vanilla, or at least it's better than it currently was, because Crota's End actually offered some rewards that were worth grinding for as well. So what I mean rewards worth looking and working towards. If you were a hardcore Destiny player during Vanilla, you raided every week. You did not miss a reset week. You wanted to go through Vault of Glass every single week with your crew because there were a ton of rewards in there that were extremely worthwhile. You had Mythoclast, you had the Vision of Confluence, you had Fatebringer, Praetorian's Foil, Praedyth's Revenge, Atheon's Epilogue, the Chatterwhite Shader, and the only way you could actually get to level 30, the max level in Vanilla Destiny, was by completing the raid and getting raid gear pieces. You know, when you hear any of those weapons named, if you were a year one player, you're like, oh man, Vision of Confluence, Fatebringer, that gun was great. They were powerful and they had a wow factor. You wanted to do Vault of Glass every week for a chance at some of those weapons or some of that gear that could get you up to level 30. When you look at King's Fall, most of the weapons are super meh. They're average and you don't really care about them. Yes, my Moraine is good, the pulse rifle I'm using here, and the HMG is pretty good. But it's disappointing because they're nowhere near the quality of year one. I know that's intentional because Luke Smith and Bungie have said we made the Vault of Glass weapons way too good. They were so good that it's the only choice players used all throughout year one, even in House of Wolves. Nobody used House of Wolves weapons because they paled in comparison to the Vault of Glass weaponry. Well, unfortunately, by them making King's Fall weapons super average, you don't care about running the raid, and it gets better because you now have 2 dice rolls you're fighting against. When you get a drop in King's Fall, not only are you looking for the gear piece that you want, or maybe the weapon that you want, which is the first dice roll, you're actually looking for the light level it's going to drop at, which is a second dice roll. So you might have gotten a really sweet headpiece, you know, the helm from the raid, but what if it's got a low light level roll and you don't have something else to infuse it in? Oh well, I guess I'll just grind to try and get a piece of gear that I can infuse into it. I see the intentions, but I think it's massively failed because my crew of people that I play with and a lot of the folks I talk to, they aren't interested in running King's Fall regularly because the rewards are met. They're average. They're not that worthwhile. So then we move to the Nightfalls in year one. Everybody Nightfalled, at least in the hardcore Destiny arena, the regular players, because the incentive was that reputation buff. You received additional reputation throughout that week. So you had a nice reason to run the Nightfall at the start of the week. You also had an exotic drop chance, and that drop chance encompassed every exotic weapon in the game, not time-gated content like we have with the Taken King. There are no exotics in the Taken King that are that cool or that wow factor except for the swords, which anybody can earn. I like the fact that they can do that. You know, Sleeper Simulant, it's cool, but it's nowhere near the power levels of a Yallarhorn. People Nightfalled for a chance at Yallarhorn, and I'm just going to be straight up honest, I Nightfalled every week, man, for a chance for Yallarhorn for such a long period of time. I got my Yallarhorn the week, a few days before Xur was selling it, but it didn't matter. It was so worth it to me to get that gun that is yeah, that's the best gun in the game. It's super powerful, it's hard to get, it's got that wow factor to it. And when you look at the Nightfalls now, there's no rep buff. Okay, that's a bit of a blow, and you don't get the cool flaming head, which was a lot of the fun. And then the exotics that have a chance to drop, no one cares about Hereafter or Telesto. those weapons don't have that much meaning. I'm just being straight up honest. I don't think any of the exotics in-game other than the swords have a wow factor that makes you want to complete endgame stuff. Year 1 had this big loot table that you knew every week you had a shot at getting some of that stuff. Not all of it was great, and I'm sure you got tons of garbage rewards, and RNG is never, like, the best system, but the system we have now is really crushing end game. And so my solution is make raid weapons really stinking good. And when the next year or expansion comes out, you do the exact same thing they did with the Taken King. You invalidate them by raising the light level, and you have a max level that they can be infused into. For PvE, all of your year 1 weapons are worthless. All of that stuff that you work towards really is worthless in terms of PvE, which on the surface stinks, but that's how every MMO ever has worked. In WoW, you work super hard to get that item level way high, and then the next expansion comes out and invalidates all of that gear, and you start the grind again. Yeah, you can still use that gear in PvP, you can still use Vault of Glass stuff in normalized PvP, but the thing is, if there's exciting rewards and a nice juicy carrot on the end of the stick, people will play your content. Well, they've made the carrot worse, and they've also removed a ton of the potential carrots by time-gating content, and it's hurting Destiny's endgame. And I think you can look around anywhere in the scene and start seeing that. I wish there was a year 2 version of Yallarhorn. Maybe not just the weapon, but I'm talking about in WoW and power factor, and you can't acquire it through an exotic quest line. I think Sleeper Simulant, No Time to Explain, those quest lines to get exotics are great, but they should not have replaced all of that awesome year 1 stuff that you had a chance to get by doing endgame things. All of this can be easily rectified in a future DLC, by the way. Just re-add the Nightfall reputation buff. Put a bunch of sweet gear at endgame available that are exotic, that aren't just legendary weapons. That'll make Xur a little bit more hype, because as it stands now, tell me, is there one piece of gear at year 2 endgame that's why you play? That's why you're getting on every week to work towards? Because in year 1, I could bring a pretty big list of stuff that I wanted that I was working towards by doing endgame activities. Anyway, that's what I have to say. If you agree or disagree, I really want to hear your feedback on this. It's a discussion, it's not a one-sided conversation. Do you think Destiny Endgame could be improved, and if so, how? Do you think it's fine as is, and if so, why? Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have a really good Saturday. Enjoy, do something fun, and we'll see you soon. BBKDRAGOON is out.